Hey everybody, we're just going to go over what we were talking about yesterday and what we see moving. So in the indexes, we did have the Fed today and was a little bit more difficult of a Fed day simply because we never had a negation of the continuity that started the move. So at the beginning of the move, you'll see they had a 2 go 3 on the 60. So we did get our broadening formation here. And then the next 60 opened and went inside. So we never got a 2 down or a 2 up until it negated and went red to green and took all those shorts out of position. So what we saw happen was first the inside 15. And we were talking about this and we said, well, when this opens, it's still going to be an inside 60. So we got to be aware that if this breaks and comes back in, this is momentum. So if that fails, it's going to go 3. And that will create the try. So what we saw here was it broke up and then it came back red right here on the 15er. And you can see that happens on the new 60-minute flip when Powell started speaking. So when we saw that, we were able to just get short right there. And we said, well, we'll look for the 3. And then it did that. And then we said, all right, now notice once a 3, always a 3. So if this 5 pokes down and can't negate that, the buyers are too strong to take this out, or the sellers, we could say, are too weak to take that out. Then once this comes back in, we're looking for a 3-3. So failing, going 3 on the 15, and then going 3 again. Because when this goes 3 on the 5er here and the 15, that is a broadening formation in and of itself. And notice it's an inside 60. All of this inside of these 2 bars here. So since they failed to take these lows out, once this occurred, we said, well, hopefully you close a short. You have to be quick. And we said you're going to have to be quick today on the Fed. Does come back up. And then the 225. We said if you can take that, we could potentially get out of this try, and then we can expand the broadening formation and get moving. On the 15-minute, it's going to look like a rev strat, the 1-3-2. So consolidation, they're willing to sell down and buy up, which shows aggression, and then a 3-2, which is a 1-bar rev strat, go 2-bar rev strat, because it went 3 and then went 3 again, coming back the other way. So when that breaks, that's the real move. And what we saw into the close was just a nice trend upwards to end the day SPY. The other way you could have been seeing this is if you're just looking at the daily chart. So we said to mind the fact that it was 2 up in red to start, but when then it goes red to green, the same way we're going to say whenever it goes red to green or green to red, people get caught off sides. Same thing here. Went red to green here and took the day 3-2 expansion. So on the daily basis, we also didn't get a triangle out. They took the 3, red to green, got all the shorts out, and then stayed up and out of the 3 above 516. So 3-2 on the day with the 3-2-15 to get into that, get it going. And what that did was then take the week to the upside here. So now we have an inside week in force going into Thursday and Friday's trading. So we can potentially see this keep going, although we're at all-time highs, exhaustion risk. And with the gap up tomorrow, we just got to be aware what gap ups tell us, right? So tomorrow's a gapper day, like we talked about in last night's vid. We're going to play it like a gapper. It could gap and go. There's a chance. Ideally, if that happens, you're positioned already. If it does and you're not in, don't be the one that goes and buys the gap and go. You can let them come back in first. And if they're really going to go, they'll stop out the morning guys and then go again. So if we go to the Qs, you're going to see the same, and you'll see the simultaneous break, the 1-3-2. And similarly, failed to negate event continuity here. If we go to the Dow, similarly, the 1-3-2, and you can see it's all simultaneously happening. So we could just trade the indexes today, and we saw the 3-2s here, and Dow Jones do that as well. We saw that take the month up, 2 up, so now we have 2s on all time frames to the upside in the indexes. And then we also saw IWM, and this was something we mentioned right when the news came out. Remember yesterday, they came back into that 3. Right here, that's a 1 consolidation, 3 broadening formation, slight lower low, 2-2 reversal back into the previous range. So although was a short the prior week, 2-2 down, when we had the gap down buy here, it was a cover and a potential buy. And if you held that, because still 2 going 3 to the upside, you get the compound 3 today. If you didn't, the 2-2 occurred right here at 202.75, and that became a 2 go 3 on the week because this daily reversal occurred, changed the weekly continuity, change the magnitude to go and take this out. So now that's a 3, we don't know. We could come back through that if we see any gap and sell tomorrow. Maybe IWM's weaker gap and go 3 of the 3. So we would draw the daily try out as far as it sits now, something like that. If we go to the 60, you'll see it looks something like this. And the expansion of that try looks something like that. Did the smaller one down here, got into the highs. They did come back in, but reclaimed back above all these highs here and got to go. So they take out the new one. As far as what we did, we were just watching the indexes for the most part because it's easier to just sit in those and play those when they go. Energies from the previous 2-2 day did reconfirm that. We'd need to see another 2-up day if they're going to get going. They did back off towards the close, but that's all technically still good. XOP was a lot stronger in here. So 2 up again. So that's still good. No reversal against. Bright green week and month. All that's still happening. And it closes as an inside 60. So we'll see what they do with that tomorrow. And OIH also still good. Inside and up here. Never came back to the entry price. And then 2 up again. So we'll see if they can keep doing that the rest of the week. They have the inside 2-2 and then Thursday, Friday could also go 2-2 and keep going. So see if that can happen for us in the energies. What we did see is we've been talking about the Dixie and how that's probably going to rev strat with the Fed, or we'd like to see it rev strat. It hits the magnitude here, and then you'll see the Fed gap and sell. Boom, big old 3 on Dixie. So we'll also see if you're looking at the UUP, that's the equivalent. Notice the gap up, 60 and down, and they just really get after that to the downside. So dollar, they're dumping that. As far as what the Fed said, whatever they said, whoever's playing with the dollar, they do not like what the Fed said. And if that keeps going down, what that's good for is things like gold. So gold did go hammers back up today. Slight lower low on the week, goes 1.3. So above 202.41, that's a continuation of the rev strat, reconfirming the month and the year 1.312. So we'll keep looking after the gold. We also saw silver 2-2 back up, make the new highs. So we'll keep looking for that as well, which if you bought it down here and we told you to, you're still good. Notice there's no reversal there. Gold, GLD, or not gold, GDX, I mean, miners. They did do the slight lower low, and we said if that goes slightly lower, it's still nowhere near taking this out. It is a weekly reversal, so be aware of it, but it could be a triangle out. This is what that looks like. Notice these bars all here go outside of these two. So you have the 3-2-2 in here in GDX. Pokes up, pokes down. Notice they gap it down into the lows. And a gap down is made for buying. So they go 3-hour inside bar, then expand, going into the new high here. So now that there are 3 on the week, what that does is it re-reverses it back up, but it's also a 3. So it's got to stay up. So tomorrow, if we can stay up 30.49, maybe a 60 and up, that would look pretty good. JNUG will be the same thing. You can see 3 here, pokes down, pokes up, pokes down again. You got another 3 trading through, and then boom, right into the highs. So that's going to look really good for next week, even if it was to just close like this. But if you're in from lower down here, nothing to worry about because that monthly is still a 2-2 reversal up. So we like all the gold still. Materials, still a 3-2 month up for the monthly guys. And if you go to things like tech, we mentioned today, after the news came out, this one, I thought it was a 2-2 day for a 3-2-2. That's what I said, but did go 3. But above that, that's still a reversal. It's just a 1-bar reversal instead of a 2-2, 2-bar reversal. So looking for that to go back up into here and set up that inside week for us. They're going to keep going after for 49.34. You'd have an inside week and up next week. So we'll see if that can set up. And then if we go to the other ones like FCX, didn't really trade much of this today, but you did get the 2-2-2, which if you've seen the energies this week, you know exactly how that's traded, and that's still going off the RevStrap month we mentioned much earlier in the month, way down in here. And then SCCO, which is one of the strongest ones in there, also had a nice 3 today. So we'll see if those set up momentum hammer weeks for next week. If you want to trade it tomorrow, it'd be a 3-2 continuation, so it's got to stay out of that. And if we go then to the energies, APA is one that we're going to get on your radar now. 2-2 month here, still has a lot of range to go and take these guys out. If we go to the MRO, small account guys are having a pretty good time, above 24.61, now trading 27.10. So if we go and just take a look again at what those MRO calls for about April, if you're going April 5th or something, the 26s, not the best spreads in there. But those are trading up at, they were $1.20 at the close. If we go into the monthly expiration, April 19, which are going to be the better spreads since it's the monthly expiration, you get more volume. those are trading up into $1.65. So if you're a small account guy, 62 cents goes to 165, pretty nice. And any other options you're trading, they're also going to be doing really well because you've not had a 2 down yet. So a lot of good stuff in there. We just got to see the 2s keep 2ing. Once we get the first 2-2 day, it's going to be triangled out for us, hopefully, to get back up with more signals. And we'll keep looking for that. So nothing really changes as far as what we're doing. I know we mentioned the industrials yesterday. So we did see those continue the inside weekend up. That was triggered by the day up. You can see the just straight up continuation. On the 60, they formed the 3, and they also gave you the triangle out. If you're sitting and watching those, you'll see like that. So as far as the XLI is concerned, you can see they did try to negate event continuity. They stopped out all these guys, and then they had the 3-2 as well and just kept going. So into tomorrow, we'd want to see them stay out of this try if they're going to keep expanding. They do have this 15 at the open. So we'll see if that keeps going too. And in the industrials, the morning we had leading GD from the Momo Hammer that we talked about. So they closed up about $2.85 from the open, or from yesterday's close, I mean. Still a 322 week, bright green month, still has the Momo Hammer year in force. So we'll see if that can keep 2ing. It's going into exhaustion risk, so just be aware of that. If we go to LMT, looking for that continuation of the 322 reversal. You got that, and you can see they really ripped it. It did do some bad on the news, but they recovered it. And we mentioned at the end of the day, they had a nice inside 60 back into this 3. So we'll see if those can keep going. Still has the 322 month in force, which means they're trying to go up here. We just got to be aware, we might be running out of time to go and do that. So we'll see if that gets there before the end of the month. If they don't, then we'll just got to be aware that we got to see it reconfirm if they're going to keep doing that. But we do have most of those doing it. So NOC also did reconfirm today, going 2 up. So all of the war machines for now is still a simultaneous break to the upside. And I bet there's a lot more things, and I know there's a lot more things we can be looking at, because financials, you'll see from the inside day we mentioned here, those went good if you did play those. So those are very bright green across every time frame and reacted very positively after the Fed spoke. So if you're in like JPM, they had the 2-2 and they just kept 2ing. Notice if we go back to that 30 try that we mentioned, you'd probably want to keep an eye on to see if they're going to get a big move. You can see like so. Slight lower lows, higher highs. I'm not sure if that's an equal low or not. Yeah, so slight higher low, but this is still your 30 try. They come out of the top now, and now that you can see they retest it, and then they keep going. So until that reverses, that's expanding, and it's an expansion. So we'll see if that wants to keep going. If you go to things like Citigroup, we mentioned the same exact thing. So they tried to get out here. They poke down, poke up. Then you can see triangles out before the Fed, and now they're expanding. So we'll see if they 3-2 tomorrow and keep that going. Still has the month up. And if you watch the macro stuff, this one's a 2-2 year. Bank of America could also become a 2-2, 3-2-2 year. And that one's also going to be doing very similar. It's just still within that broadening formation, but also we'll have that big 3 on the day. So if they're going to really go after them, a 3-2 above that, 36.88, you're just going into recent highs. So it's a very aggressive entry if you're going to try and do that. Personally, I'm going to stick to what we've already got, make it simple for myself. But we did see other financials really outperform today. You can see like Momo Hammer went up in AXP, which took a week inside and up, which we did talk about on the weekend vid. If it did break down, that could be bad, but it didn't. Went inside and up, so there was no signal to get in short. If we go to Dow, which is a Dow Jones Materials name, that one also had a big explosion, 3. So you got some broadening formations if you're trading Dow Jones guys. We also saw Goldman Sachs. They did RevStrat and then keep going today, 3-2-2ing on the week. Still doing nothing on the month, but it becomes a 2, so that could start getting out of this range here. You'd want to draw this out like so. So we'll see if they poke up and then start coming back again. They might take all of them out in one go, but for now, we'll see. Morgan Stanley was one we did trade today after the Fed, and it took the inside weekend up here, which reconfirmed a 2-2 month here. So still got some range to go after, back the previous range. And what we did was just right here. When that week went in force, you're like, all right, buy. Whole market's going up. It should probably work since financials are going up. And then it hits the magnitude, partial, and then you can leave the rest if you want. Maybe you didn't partial at all. It's really up to how you're going to manage that. And the only other thing we did today was Apple. So once we saw the market starting to firm up a bit, we noticed this. So right at 1330, the 222. Hopefully you're seeing how often that happens. Notice the day, the 222. And we talked about that one as well, potentially confirming the week up. So this is how we got into that. And I did partial some of that, but it was weeklies. I didn't hold into the close. Did close very high on the day. So it still has the week in force. Could negate the month still above 79.55, but it looks like it's down slightly after hours. So what we're going to want to do tomorrow, and since everything went up today, it's all going to look like the future. So there's not much we have to really scan for tonight. But what we'll want to do is go after the things taking out today's lows tomorrow, especially if we see these markets gapping up tomorrow morning. And things doing that would be any gaps down in the after hours session, which on Thinkorswim it just doesn't let me scan for that for some reason. If you have a way to do that, let me know. It would be very useful. But we're going to want to scan in the morning. I'll try and get a list out on Twitter and see who's taking out today's lows tomorrow, because any of those things, that's where these longs are having trouble. So very similar to what we did on the gap down on 319. It's just the other way. So simple enough. And then the other thing we'll do is, because some things will go inside day, anything two up tomorrow, they're still buying that. So we'll see what's doing that at the open. But just to make it simple, sticking to what we know from the monthly vid at the start of the month, make it simple for us, or for myself really, because then I can just hold those. And then with the gaps, we'll see what they want to do. The last thing we can really talk about here would be the chips. I mentioned MU. I said you could probably do this 2-2 day to get some profit and swing into the earnings with calls. So if you did that, they're opening at 113 about tomorrow. We'll see if that changes, but very nice earnings. And not everyone's made to do that, I know. So if you didn't, that's fine. I personally didn't myself, so I'm just throwing ideas out there for you guys. I can't trade every single thing, but those 98 calls, they're probably going to open around almost $2,000, and you're going to see they closed around 4. And the reason I said you could trade that before the earnings is because even if we just go to the 60 here, if you know how to trade a reversal, a 2260 at 350 spikes into 450. So you make $100 a contract. Maybe you take 4 contracts, take 3 off and leave 1. It's free, right? So when I say that, that's what I mean. Is you can try and go and do that. And even if you're just a daily guy, 3.5 is the same exact signal. So tomorrow, that will be on the gap list as far as things gapping up. And they really killed their earnings. So it could start bringing up the other SMHs, which did 2-2 the day today. So you'll see tomorrow if you can get continuation. You've got a good amount of pivots to try and come back through here. And they might do that all at once, which looks like 225 at the open. So they will be gapping up into this one. So not going to have much to get after right at the open there, since they'll have that short-term exhaustion right at the highs here. But we will be watching the chips to see who's coming back and who's not. What I can tell you is Intel, I know it was a bottom picker one, but what do we do on a gap up? You can't buy it, right? So if it was going to be a good bottom pick, we would want a 2-2 signal long. Since that's a gap up, you go and short it right there, right? So they short, make a 3, and tomorrow, if that goes 3-2 above this with all the chips rallying, that could still be a 3-2 reversal, still something we can look at. So that'll be about it for the nightly vid. I know it was relatively short, but I like to keep it a little simple. I don't want to stress myself out too much. And really, we didn't even stream the morning. I mentioned in the morning that gold was taking the day up on a gap down with all the miners, and there was no stream. Then we got on, looked at the indexes, and just did that with some Apple trade and the Morgan Stanley trade. So that was about it, but hopefully you guys enjoy and are learning stuff from these nightly vids. If you are, let me know. And I did see some comments on the recent video. I will get to those as soon as I can. I've just been relatively busy after the close these days. So that'll be it. And I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning in the stream. And if you're not, I'll see you guys in the nightly vid tomorrow night.